Hi, this is Mike Cucciarelli. In this webinar, I'll be talking about how I use Adobe Photoshop and Camera Raw to process my images in the complete course on the white Plex table. And this involves both parts. Here's what the final images look like. So now we're going to go to the Camera Raw. I'm going to do Control or Command R. I'm going to reset it. I'm going to do Control or Command R. Need to reset it. This brings up Control or Command R, or bring up the raw editor. I'm going to I use different camera settings to get the effect I like. We'll do one at a time. Control Command R. I do a gray. I'm going to tone down my highlights. Improve the clarity. Texture. I always have an S curve for practice. Sharpening would be over 140. Noise reduction would be at 50. Color noise reduction. Increase at least by 10. I'm going to check off remove chromatic aberration and use profile corrections. When you remove chromatic aberration, removing color probes of the edges of the subject or various parts of the photograph. Profile corrections. This is the lens that I'm using to display the lens. It uses the features of the lens. I'm going to check this. Now, if you look at the photograph, this is a little more darker than this, so I'm going to try to fix this in vignetting. I'm going to click Done. I'm going to Control or Command R to bring up the raw editor. I'm going to find a gray. I'm going to tone down the highlights. I'm going to slightly increase the shadows. I'm going to slightly increase texture, the clarity. I don't always put an S, whether there's doubt or not, just for practice, for good maintenance. Sharpening, we have 140. Noise reduction. It'd be at 50. Color noise reduction. I'm going to check off remove chromatic aberration. I'm going to check off use profile corrections. It depends what lens I'm using, the 50 prime. I want to check the auto feature. I'm going to click done. I'm going to do Control Command R. I'm going to find a gray, and I'm going to check it. I'm going to do like an S. I always want to do an S to make sure that it's done, that it always does contrast, whether there's data here or not, just to be consistent. Detail of 140. Noise reduction 50. Try to use at least 10 with the color noise reduction. Let's check out remove chromatic aberration. I'm going to show user profile. When you remove chromatic aberration, you're straightening out any colors of the edges of the photograph you have. When you check off use profile corrections, this is based on the lens, which is a 50-meter lens. I'm going to check off auto. There's a slight vignette problem. I'm going to click done. I'm going to do Control or Command R. I'm going to find a gray. For detail, I'm going to go over 140. Noise reduction 50. Color noise increase at least by 10. I'm going to check remove chromatic aberration, profile corrections. Both these and the optics are checked. Remove chromatic aberration, use profile corrections are both checked. I'm going to click on the auto feature. Have a slight vignette problem. I'm going to click done. I'm going to do Control or Command R. I'm going to find a gray. I'm going to tone down the highlights. Affect the shadows. I'm going to improve the texture. I'm going to improve clarity. Let's do an S curve to be consistent. Sharpening we have 140. Noise reduction at 50. Color noise reduction. 34. Optics, I'm going to check off remove chromatic aberration. I'm going to check off use profile corrections. The last one, I'm going to do Controller Command R. I'm going to tone down the highlights. Experiment the shadows. And improve the texture, clarity. Look at S curves. Detail, sharpening at least over 140. Noise reduction, at least 50. Color noise reduction, 38. Chromatic. No problems found, no upright problem found. Slight vignette problem. Do a new share. Now I'm going to go in to Adobe Photoshop. I'm going to open up every one of these images. First image we're going to start with. Run some actions. First, I'm going to burn improvements at a luminosity blend mode. I'll bring in my brushes. Always use a soft brush. And I'm just going to work on the subject. Make sure I'm at normal, blend mode, opacity 100. I'll do some cloning. I think I'll just do a clone here. I'm going to zoom out. Now, I'm going to make the photograph more white in a click, or more black in a click. A lot of times I just like to then some people may crop it. I'm okay with this. Use a style for more actions. So when I do the image, that the resolution is automatically set to 200 pixels per inch, and the longest side is a height, which is 4,000. Then I'm going to talk about the actions. The action for the frame, I call this action as a condition. These actions defined elsewhere. Big height. The first action that I call is dodge and burn. Then I call the black signature, the white signature. Then I click on this action, the dust and filters, the speckle. And then this filter, which is here. Speckle filter just runs. Because I have it set at 3, not 41. I'm going to talk about the second image. I'm going to find So I'm burning with a soft brush, opacity 100 in a luminosity blend mode. I'll make the shadow more darker. I'm gonna use the dropper tools to make it automatic black, automatic white. Like to just mess with this, just the mid-tone slider. Or another set of actions. Image dodge level is the first thing that I do. So I call this action, I do all this stuff. Here's the white water, the black water actions. On the other set. And then I click on this action, the dispeckle filter, the dust and scratch filter happens, and this happens, and this fade is really at a luminosity blend mode at 100. It says in the action here. Let's see, other actions. Let me go on to the next photograph. I'm going to switch to button mode because I like to click buttons. I'm going to click on the dodge combo action. Many ways to clean this, We'll use Shift F5. Or I can do blur. Or I could just clone it. Use this off. And I'm going to put use this action, all the other actions. So when I click on this, the dust and scratches happens to the speckle. And the sharpen high pass happens, which is this right here. This, when this happens, this filter calls, this, all these steps happen. And then the black and white signatures happen. And I'm gonna run my actions. So I'm burning a luminosity blend mode. Actually, I want to bring the shadow back in. So I'm not gonna mess. Yeah, that looks better. Also do frequency separation. And I'll make the photograph darker. Last clip, I'm gonna get wider. Okay, and basically you've seen the actions, calls actions, big height. Big height is up here. Big width is up here. So I have actions. These actions are defined somewhere else in this. And it's under MFP folder. And I call this the first thing I call, like this happens, I call this actions, I do all this stuff. Call the black and white signatures. When I call this, it does filters, the speckle filter, and this filter. In button mode, run some actions. Just clone it out. Now, if I felt like make it dark in a mouse click, make it white in a mouse click. Up it should be at 50. Let's see if I can bring out the titles better. I'm just painting on a white mask to make improvements. Multiply it at 50% opacity level. You've seen the actions, but I think that what I want to do is just look at some filters. Sometimes use a Gaussian blur to clear stuff. Noise, I use dispeckle. And sometimes I use this is on an action group. I set it to 3. You sharpen and sharp mask. I like to have it at 1, but at 200. They fade the speckle. This is really actually I'm gonna run the action. You see in this, when I go, it's at 100%, but a blend mode of luminosity is great for contrast. And you see in the actions, switch to button mode. Where's my actions? Oh, there it is. I run this action. It should be at a normal 100%. Normal blend at 100% in, but you'll be painting on the luminosity blend mode, but the brush mode is at a normal. I'm just trying to bring up the title a little better. I'm going to use a soft. And then I'm going to use, I'll show you the actions one last time. When this clicks, this happens, you have a condition. It's a landscape, this happens, is it found elsewhere? If this happens, when this clicks, these filters happen, the speckle, this one scratches, and the sharp and high pass, which is defined up here, that action, all these actions happen. Well, that concludes the Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Bridge of images within the complete class on the white Plexiglass table. Thank you very much for listening. I have a YouTube channel. Please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. I have tons of videos on still life and Adobe Photoshop and other Adobe products. It is a pleasure teaching this course, the Adobe section, hands-on. Thank you for listening to this webinar.